Okay. So as we talked about yesterday, today's show is supposed to be pretty much about the Super Bowl and why the Baltimore Ravens could and probably should be a favorite for winning this year. But apparently yesterday, we started some sort of firestorm. If you've been looking in the comments been crazy. And our friend Acho today chose to go onto the facility and try to return the favor after I butchered his weak analysis yesterday. And he thought he would torch my response. It got ugly, folks. So I brought my bourbon. We gonna let Edgar Allan Poe walk us into this. And Flock, let's go get into this right now, because I feel like I better take another drink first. Let's go.
Then the media came a-rapping, ever-tapping against my bedroom door. Give the MVP to Josh Allen, we desperately implore. Quoth the Raven, nevermore.
Josh Allen, the MVP. The MVP is Lamar!
One flock.
Let's go Ravens, let's go Ravens, let's go Ravens, let's go Ravens. We are one flock, we are one flock, we are one flock, we are one flock.
Welcome. I'm so glad that you all came back for day 2 inside One Flock. I'm your host, Rob Love, and I am so gracious and so humbled and thankful that you are here today. I want to say thank you again to everybody who's been hitting me up, getting in the comments, who's been sending the emails, who's been just showing support already, the love. I can't believe it. It's just, I guess I really can believe it, because I said yesterday, this is the best fan base in all the world. I swear by that. But I'm going to tell you right now, we got some stuff to get cleared up. And so I hope you got your bourbon, because I got mine, and you're going to see some sips happening today. So we're going to get into this, because this is crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I mean, really. Well, let's just get right into what we were talking about yesterday, just briefly. I'm not going to recap everything that we did in episode 1. If you didn't watch that episode, you definitely need to watch that one. But we'll just briefly surmise what we talked about yesterday, and that is this right here. It was the MVP comparison that is trying to be made between Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. Now, you look at these stats here, the numbers don't lie. One of my favorite lyrics from Jay-Z, men lie, women lie, numbers don't. Look at these numbers. It's not even close. You know, it's funny how people try to manipulate these numbers. If you notice, a lot of people who are vying for Josh Allen, they don't put up, he's got 28 passing touchdowns. They put his cumulative 28 passing touchdowns along with his rushing touchdowns, 6 of which were 1-yard tush pushes, and try to compare that to Lamar Jackson's 39 passing touchdowns. Like I said, these numbers, there's no comparison. The numbers make a very strong case for Lamar Jackson being what he is, the MVP, the best player in all of football. Lamar Jackson has 4,807 yards. Come on, man. 4,807 yards. His passer rating, 121.6. And this is where Acho decided he was going to try to stick his flag in the ground and turn my analysis, my very clear, logical, undeniable proof that Lamar Jackson is the MVP and Josh Allen is a very good football player who in any other year where Lamar wasn't doing this might be the MVP. But Lamar Jackson is the MVP. Acho decided to try to respond to this, and we're going to let you hear the nonsense that he spewed from his mouth that probably has some people wondering if he needs medical attention today. But bumped his head. He had to bump his head. He must have fallen out of his chair when he watched One Flock last night and just boom. Oh. But I'll let you hear it. We'll listen to it together. But this is part of what we were looking at. The other thing that we looked at yesterday was the passer rating in detail. And if you look here, you can see that what Lamar's doing, and this is why it's not just about the passer rating, it's about the level of it. Second highest passer rating in the history of the NFL. And in the history of the NFL, there's been guys like Peyton Manning and Dan Marino. There's been Tom Brady's. The Brett Favre's, the Aaron Rodgers, who owned, prior to Lamar taking over the number 2 spot, the number 1 and number 2 spot for the best season passer rating ever. It's incredible. Peyton Manning on this list. You don't see Josh Allen on this list anywhere. There's a lot of quarterbacks you won't see on this list because they never had this high of a level of just incredible performance as a passer of the football. And we don't have to talk about it. I'm not even going to pull up anything about Lamar Jackson's dominance as a runner of the football. I think on the last slide, though, you did see that he only has 4 rushing touchdowns. And he's covered almost 100 yards running to get those 4 touchdowns. It's an average of over 20 yards per carry for those touchdowns. Meanwhile, Josh Allen is averaging about 5 yards per carry for his rushing touchdowns, most of which, or at least half of which, came from the 1-yard line. I don't want to hear about stat padding. We'll get to those comments a little bit later. But we're not going to get distracted by my analysis from yesterday. Go back and watch that show if you need to see it. But Acho's response, what Acho decided to try to do today, might have been, well, I'm going to save that comment for later. Just listen to it first. Let's listen to it. And then you tell me what you think. I'm starting my drinking right now. Here we go.
Lamar has a better case for people who consume stats first and film second. Josh Allen has a better case for people who consume film first and stats second. I say it like this because when I've sat in any defensive meeting room I've ever sat at, the collegiate level or the NFL level, sat with several brilliant minds, much more brilliant than myself, I have never had a defensive coordinator bring up a player's passer rating in a defensive meeting. I never had a coach or defensive coordinator bring up how many touchdowns a player's thrown, nor a coach bring up how many interceptions a player's thrown. A coach in every meeting I've ever sat in, which is how I consume the game of football, they just turn on the tape. So when you just turn on the tape, Josh Allen has a better case. Because when you turn on the tape, you see where Josh Allen is doing it, and you see whom he's doing it with. But if you look at the numbers first, Lamar has a better case. Lamar got better numbers than Josh Allen, and Lamar beat Josh Allen head-to-head. But then when you go back and you turn on the tape, you see, wait, Josh Allen has a 7-yard receiving touchdown? How'd that happen? That must have been like an easy Philly type play. No. He threw an out route to Amari Cooper. He saw Amari Cooper getting tackled by 3 individuals, and his natural intuition and instincts kicked in. And in the snow against the Niners defense, he runs over, catches the pitch, and scores. The film tells you more of a conclusive and holistic story than just the numbers do. Lamar has a better case when you're talking numbers. But Josh has a better case when you're talking film. I say it like this, and James, this quote has stuck with me for life, especially sports. It might stick with you. We make things important because we can measure them. We don't measure them because they're important. So when I think about passing yards, I think passing yards is the most irrelevant statistic in the history of the world. It's the most irrelevant. Oftentimes, people with the most passing yards in a season, right? I'm talking micro, I'm not talking macro. People with the most passing yards in a season, their team sucks. They're always trailing, so they always have to pass. Joe Burrow, his team, if they were winning, he wouldn't be leading the league in passing yards because they'd be ahead. You think about Sam Howell, the starting quarterback for Washington last year. He led the league in passing yards through 13 weeks. Jameis Winston led the league in passing yards and threw 30 interceptions in the season. Deshaun Watson led the league in passing yards and his team was 4-12. But we make passing yards important because we can measure them. James, what's passer rating conclude with? I don't even know. It's some amalgamation of touchdowns plus interceptions plus yards plus completion. Like, y'all don't know. You don't know. You know, it's like meatloaf. I don't know what's in
I know
it.
you completing them passes.
Sure, but we made passer rating important, but nobody, you, the layman person, cannot even tell you what passer rating is comprised of. Sure. But we just sit here and throw it out there. I'm not even saying it's wrong, because it's impressive to be on a list with Aaron Rodgers, obviously. But we just make things important because we can measure them. We don't measure them because they're important. Lamar's got a clear case for stats. Josh has, I think, a clearer case for film.
Go ahead.
No, you say you had something. Go ahead, 'cause I had something to do.
What film you watching?
My man James Jones said, "What tape you watching?" I mean, what else you supposed to say? Acho just came out in full desperation mode and said that if you look at the numbers, Lamar Jackson is the MVP, but if you look at the film, Josh Allen's film says he's the MVP. Man, stop, Acho. Listen, nobody's trying to knock Josh. We understand now, Acho, that you've just decided that you want Josh Allen to be the MVP. This is obviously an emotional moment for you because you have thrown logic out the window. You are seriously going to say, and I noticed you didn't try to support it. You didn't pull up any film breakdown, Lamar Jackson film versus Josh Allen film. Because if you did that, what you would see is an amazing set of film by Josh Allen. You would see some incredible plays over the course of this season. And then that tape would end. However long it was, however many plays it contained, you would note that and probably try to throw out the numbers because how many minutes of footage of Josh Allen, the numbers shouldn't matter. You would say that at the end because what would happen is when you went to play the compilation of Lamar Jackson's film and the whoa moments, the amazing film that he has, the tape would be longer, the number of plays would be higher. And you would be going, well, the film says the same thing the numbers do. You can't make a just crazy statement like that and expect people to go, you know what, you're right. No, Acho. Nobody's trying to knock Josh Allen and say he hasn't had a great season and that his film doesn't have a accumulation of incredible plays. We all saw that run that everybody wants to talk about in the snow. That was an incredible play. However, we've also seen Lamar Jackson, stiff-arming defensive ends, knocking them to the ground, running around like a rabbit, jumping in the air out of bounds, throwing across his body, give me 6. We've seen so many moments from Lamar, and you are so desperate to fulfill this emotional need for Josh Allen to finally get him one, that you want to try to sell that the Josh Allen film has more wow moments than Lamar Jackson's film this year. Stop, Acho. Just stop. Let's just leave that ridiculousness alone and go to one of the next points you tried to do. And you know what? What you tried to do next, what'd you say? The passing yards means nothing and the passer rating. So since I pulled up Lamar Jackson's historic passer rating, you decided to try to kill that logic from yesterday's show and say passer rating doesn't matter because we don't know how they figure it. Passer rating, come on, what? Numbers don't matter now, Acho. You know, it's so amazing to me, and I want you guys to notice this, that anytime that people find themselves in a position where their position that they're emotionally tied to is defied by the logic, numbers, data, when data and numbers make their position look insane, people often, rather than being reasonable and going, oh, I need to change my position, they dismiss the data. Summarily dismiss whatever data or logic makes them uncomfortable with their position. And this is exactly, anybody trying to push for Josh Allen to be an MVP over Lamar Jackson, that's what they keep saying. Well, throw the numbers out. Throw the numbers out. Numbers don't matter. So what? Lamar Jackson's having an all-time quarterback rating. It doesn't matter. Passing yards don't matter. Numbers don't matter. Stop. See, if we wanted to be reasonable, if a person wanted to try, because there are instances like last year where numbers, when you brought in the context around those numbers, gave a very different picture than what the numbers alone seemed to indicate. Dak Prescott had some impressive numbers, but the context of his numbers. See, people saw the games where the reason the Cowboys lost was Dak Prescott. The Cowboys were winning and in a good position, and then Dak Prescott throws 2 interceptions at the end of the game, and they lose. They saw the blowout losses where Dak Prescott would throw 3 picks that were all on him in one game, and the Cowboys would lose. So yes, while the numbers across the season looked impressive alone, the context of Dak Prescott failing in major moments over and over again throughout the season and costing the Cowboys games made it to where no one was making Dak Prescott the MVP. He couldn't be the most valuable player because too many times he was the reason the Cowboys lost. Whereas looking across the way at Lamar Jackson, whose cumulative numbers were lower, his efficiency was better. And when the Ravens were winning, Lamar Jackson was the reason they were winning. He was never the reason they lost. He was the most valuable player. This is what we're talking about. Numbers do matter, but so does context. And Acho, your anxiousness to just summarily dismiss the numbers tells the truth on your position. You are emotionally, for whatever reason, tied to this position of Josh Allen. I understand Buffalo fans being emotionally tied to their quarterback. It makes sense. You should be. But I've talked to many Buffalo fans. I've even had them on X in conversation say that Lamar Jackson is, when they get real and to take the emotion out of it, yes, Lamar Jackson, they can see why he's should be the MVP. That's called being reasonable. Acho, you have left the land of reason. You're trying to dismiss data, dismiss numbers, dismiss anything that says that Lamar Jackson is the MVP. Any data, any facts. You even want to dismiss what your eyes see. You know, I got to go back to this because I remember when I first started watching Ravens content, there was a brother who had a channel. I wish he still did because he always had some good takes. And he called himself Real Ravens Fan. In fact, if you're still out there and you're watching this show, man, make sure you hit me up. I'd love to get you on the show sometime. But he called himself Real Ravens Fan. And one of the things he used to always say was, people believe your eyes. Believe your eyes. Because if you listen to what people are talking about, they can try to mislead you down any path, but believe your eyes. Acho tried to talk about that your eyes somehow are going to tell you watching a film session of Lamar versus Josh Allen, that Josh Allen is just so much more incredible than Lamar Jackson. Anybody who watched film between those two is going to see who the more dominant player, the more valuable player is, the one who has the more ooh-ah moments. It's 100% undeniably going to be Lamar Jackson every time. Those 6 1-yard tush-push runs and then even include the Kansas City in the snow run and some of these amazing plays that Josh Allen made passing the ball, they're going to be done playing and the tape's still going to be rolling of Lamar Jackson going, wow, he did that too. Wow, I forgot about that one. Wow, another one. Stop, man. Numbers matter. context. And now finally, the other thing that he did, his third attempt to pull on Josh Allen, his emotional bond of making him MVP, was he tried to give you this thing about when he was a football player, no coach ever came in and started touting the passer rating or the number of completions or yardage, passing yardage that a quarterback had. He just told him to watch the tape. Now, I have a response for this, but I'm not giving it because you know what? Sarah Ellison, who I love, I absolutely love Sarah Ellison. She is incredible. Her and Bobby both do some amazing work over there at the Vault. And earlier today, Sarah addressed this, and I don't think that anyone could address it better. Sarah, I could not say it any better. So you guys, if you didn't see it earlier, and you need to go check out their whole show if you haven't seen it. If you're not subscribed to them, make sure after you get finished with this and you like and subscribe here that you go straight to the Vault. I'm putting their link in the comments today. But before we talk about all that, just listen to what Sarah said. Listen to the logic. See, we're not talking about just an emotional statement or claim. Listen to the logic that Sarah so beautifully laid out there to dismiss this nonsense from Acho. Here we go. Check it out.
Well, what are we doing here? And then the best one, Bobby. Here we go. The best one. I'm saving this one for last because this is so easily refutable. He says, I've never been into a meeting where a defensive coordinator says, oh, he has a 121 passer rating. They just flip on the tape. Okay, that's probably true. And again, we've discussed tape. But who's the common opponent these two teams have had? Who's the common opponent?
Buffalo
Houston Texans. Yeah. Houston Texans, correct? Houston Texans.
It's Houston, it's Kansas City, it's who else has been on Buffalo's schedule? At least those two. Two playoff teams are Houston and Kansas City.
Okay. Well, how about this? So you have about two common guys, and I don't know if Andy Reid, who's an offensive coordinator, I don't know if Spags was asked the MVP question, but I know D'Amico Ryan, who's a defensive coach, had to play both quarterbacks, and he's flipped on the tape. And what's his conclusion?
The football, I think Lamar is playing some of the best football he's played. Like, he's definitely jumps off the tape as the best player I've seen this year. Talk about MVP.
I'm sorry. He what? He jumps off of what?
Well, what's notable about this is that this was prior to what Lamar did to his team. Okay? Just to be clear, this was prior to Christmas. What do you think he's saying after Christmas, Sarah?
Exactly. Because he beat Josh Allen and he got demolished by Lamar Jackson. But did he say that Lamar jumps off the stat sheet to him? What? No. I'm sorry. What did you say? He jumps off of what?
Jumps off the tape is.
Oh, he jumps off the tape. He's also trying to say.
Like, he's definitely jumps off the tape as.
Would you like to continue listening to him?
The common opponent. A defensive coordinator is the head coach. Lamar jumps off the tape as the best player, and he already beat Josh Allen. What are we doing here? Yes, we can listen to the rest of it.
The best player I've seen this year. Talk about MVP. He's definitely the MVP in my mind, just for what he's doing, not only run game wise, but throwing the football, the accuracy, the decision making. Like, he's playing unbelievable ball right now. So it's going to be a really tough challenge for us this week.
He really tried to say that we're going to overlook the stats. And again, there are some cases where it's like, okay, yes, the stats are the baseline, but here's a legitimate reason why this is more important than just the stats. No, they are transformative, historic stats. And to pretend that defensive coordinators aren't worried about him, and then the common opponent says he jumps off the tape, not the stat sheet, it's over. It's over. KO. If you want to vote for Josh, you do it because you got an MVP vote and I don't. But let's be real. Let's not pretend that Lamar Jackson doesn't have the tape.
Man, I love Sarah. Did I tell you guys I love Sarah Ellison? I mean, I need a sound effect. I need a sound effect for like that mic drop sound, when you drop the mic and it just like feedbacks all over the world. Doom, score. We need to get that because when there's a moment like that, a mic drop, whew, good gracious. Acho's calling in sick tomorrow. I bet you when you turn on the facility tomorrow, Acho will not be on the set. He's like, what am I going to do? Whew. Sarah, thank you so much for that. Again, guys, if you have not seen what Bobby Trossett, a.k.a. Bobby Baltimore, and Sarah are doing over there at the Vault, make sure you check them out. Again, I do have them linked in the comments for today's show, and I just really appreciate that. So before we get out of here, there's one other thing that I need to address from our comment section. And if you haven't commented already, you got something you want to say, please, I encourage you. I read every comment. Put your comment down there. I will look forward to responding and seeing what you got to say. One of the comments that a lot of Buffalo Bills were putting in the comments was that they do have context to make Lamar's numbers mean less. And the context they were trying to provide is that Josh Allen is doing what he's doing with less weapons. That there's this huge discrepancy. That it's just Josh Allen with the team on his back plowing to these wins. And that Lamar Jackson has all this talent. And that discrepancy, that context is why Josh Allen is the MVP. Is that true? Is it Josh Allen just carrying the Buffalo Bills to a division championship? First place in the division. And Lamar Jackson, meanwhile, is flying with superior talent. Well, we already talked about that Josh Allen hasn't carried the team in every game. That's on yesterday's episode. We talked about 2 games. Go back and watch it. 2 games where the team, the Buffalo Bills, carried Josh Allen to a victory. So that kind of kills that context there. But let's get more into the talent discrepancy. And for that, we're going to our very first One Flock Raven call of the day. And you know what a call is. You know, my buddies James and Glenn, they do it at the end of their show every time at the 410 Sports Network. Call. You know, that's what Ravens do. We call. Well, I'll be picking out comments. I read every comment, and sometimes there's a comment that just, it's a call that everybody needs to hear. And today, we owe that to Diamond Buff. Diamond Buff is our very first One Flock Raven call of the day. We're about to bring that quote up right now because this brother addressed very well some great points about this perceived context of this huge discrepancy of talent between what Lamar has with the Ravens and what Josh Allen has with the Bills. Check this out. Diamond Buff said, Allen's weapon argument is that he lost Diggs and Davis. He's added Amari Cooper, a perennial top 10 wide receiver in the league. We know Coleman and Shakir is better than Bateman and Aguilar. The Bills, since that trade, have had the superior wide receiver core for 2024. And while Andrews likely is probably the best tight end room in the league and better than Kincaid Knox, the latter, Kincaid and Knox, is still a top 10 tight end room in the league. So really, it's just the running backs that is the biggest difference. Henry is a future Hall of Fame running back. However, he's had his best efficiency season of his career, higher than even his 2000 season. The reason is the Lamar Jackson effect. Defense can only commit 10 to the run versus 11 because of Lamar's speed and ability to make a defense being wrong turn into 6 points. Like we saw against the Texans. They committed 11 to stopping Henry, and Lamar scorched them. Yet the entire first half, they committed 10 and got gashed because Lamar has a greater effect on his team's rushing efficiency more than any other quarterback in the league. So sure, Henry is better than Cook. However, That wasn't the perception going into the 2024 free agency. It was that Henry was washed, which is why he went for only $8 million a year. Yet paired with Lamar, he's running back to historic levels. With Lamar, Cook would also look better. Would probably look like a top 5 back in the league. Diamond Buff. Diamond Buff, man. Brother, you laid it out there. Thank you so much. He's right. He's right. He's right. I mean, Amari Cooper, are we really, did we see him moss that guy the other day? Come on, man. The discrepancy between our wide receivers is not what people are trying to sell. Amari Cooper and Shakir are not bums. They're not in another league than Nelson Aguilar and Rashad Bateman. Kincaid and Knox, they're not as good as Likely and Andrews, but they're a top 10 tight end room. And then the Derrick Henry, 30-year-old running back, we all know what everybody was saying about Derrick Henry with all the miles he has on his legs. Yes, it's Derrick Henry. Yes, he's going to the Hall of Fame. But yes, we know what happens to running backs historically. What doesn't happen is what's happened with Derrick Henry as soon as he got with Lamar Jackson. He has his most efficient year as a runner ever. Derrick Henry is doing things he's never done in his career because of the value that Lamar Jackson brings to the game. Thank you so much, Diamond Buff. Great points. And if you have something you have to say, you agree with Diamond, you think he's out of his mind, in the comments right now. Love to hear it. My goodness, what an episode, man. We've only been in this thing for 2 days, and already we've had all this great interaction and fun. And I just want to thank you guys. Thank you for the support, all the comments that I've gotten, the emails. All of that means so much to me. There is a certain amount of anxiety whenever you're starting out on a new venture. And there definitely was some of that with this, but you guys have made it. We're off and flying. And I thank you for that. I thank you so much for that. Again, I want to say thank you to everyone who left a comment, everyone who told a friend today before the show, and is the reason why we're getting all these extra views. Thank you. I depend upon that. This show will depend on that going forward. Please continue that. I appreciate it so much. Like, subscribe, tell someone. If you enjoy this Ravens content, if you enjoy football content in general, by all means, tell somebody else who you know does, and we'll see you back. Tomorrow, we were going to talk about the same thing we were supposed to talk about today. That Super Bowls that I believe we do have coming. But we got a game coming up this Saturday against the Cleveland Browns. It's a revenge game, and it's a game for the division, and I think it's time we need to break that down. We're going to break down exactly what to expect in this game and just how pivotal this game is for the Ravens. And we'll get your comments and what you guys think about it. It's coming up soon. Make sure you're here. In the meantime, I am your host, saying thank you again so much. Rob Love. Remember, there's one thing this world will never be too full of. It is love. So you know somebody who needs some of that life, make sure you give it to them. Because we are not alone. We fly together. One flock. Thanks for flying, my brother. Let's go.
We take the field as one flock. Come on, Ravens, here we go as one flock. We keep grinding till we soar to the top. Come on, Ravens, here we go as one flock. We keep grinding till we soar to the top. Let's go Ravens, let's go Ravens, let's go Ravens, let's go Ravens.